Hello students, good morning. I am Dr. Nagaraj from Bangalore Institute of Technology. I would like to welcome you all for the third session of video lecture on elasticity. See, in previous two sessions, we tried to understand some fundamental concepts of elasticity. So we emphasized on microscopic view of elasticity, stress, strain, types of stress and strain, factors affecting elasticity, applications of elastic materials, and Hooke's law. Now let me continue further. Just for the sake of continuity, I would like to revise Hooke's law and stress strain curve once again. As you all know, Hooke's law is the fundamental law in elasticity. It gives a relation between degree of structural deformation and imposed stress. The statement goes like this: within the elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to strain, so that their ratio is always constant. That means stress divided by strain is a constant, and this constant is known as elastic moduli. There are three types in elastic moduli, which I will discuss later on. Elastic limit is the maximum applied load up to which Hooke's law is valid. Well, we have one important concept here, that is stress strain curve. I already mentioned this in my previous session, just I repeat it. A graph of stress versus strain is known as stress strain curve. It is as shown in figure. I will show you the figure, and from the figure we can make some conclusions. Here is the diagram. Stress is taken along y-axis, strain is along x-axis, and the whole curve is divided into different segments like AP, PC, CM, MF. Now let us make some conclusions. First conclusion: the graph is linear in the region AP. Stress and strain have linear relationship, and Hooke's law is valid in this region. The slope of the line gives elastic modulus. See, A to P is a straight line, and anywhere you find the slope, that slope represents elastic modulus. And Hooke's law is valid only in this region. So AP is therefore known as linear region or proportionality region. Second conclusion: as the material is deformed beyond P, the stress is no longer proportional to strain. Permanent and non-recoverable deformation occurs beyond P, and hence P represents elastic limit. The region beyond P is known as plastic region. So up to P, Hooke's law is valid. Therefore, this can be called as elastic limit. Beyond P, there will be non-linear variation of the strain. So this is known as plastic deformation. Next conclusion: the transition from elastic to plastic is gradual one. It onsets at a point P and increases with rising stress. This is known as yielding. From P to C, the variation of stress and strain is not linear, but still the material is treated as elastic. Stress corresponds to the point C is known as yield strength. So let me elaborate this particular observation. P to C is not a straight line, but it is gradually varying like this. So P to C or C onwards, it is no more elastic material, but especially from P to C, the body is able to return back to the original shape with some residual strain, that A dash. So that means the curve will not trace the path PA, it will trace the path CA dash. The point where that plastic deformation is onset is P, and it goes up to C. So up to C, the body will be still considered as elastic, and this is known as yield strength. So that is about conclusion number 3. Coming to fourth one: if the stress is increased further, plastic deformation increases and becomes maximum at M. This is known as tensile strength or ultimate strength. Tensile strength is the maximum stress sustained by a material. So up to M, there will be deformation, and after M, some structural changes will be taking place in the material. So stress corresponds to M is known as tensile strength or maximum strength or ultimate strength. At this maximum point M, a small constriction or shrinking in the material begins, and ultimately fracture occurs at point F. Therefore F is termed as fracture point. So at M, there will be small changes in the structure of the material, and that change will continue. Finally at F the body will break into pieces. Let me demonstrate it. See, at P the material will be intact, so like this, and it continues to be in the same form up to M. But at M there will be a small shrinkage or a small neck formation takes place like this. And even if you don't apply force beyond M, that shrinkage continues, and finally at F it breaks into pieces like this. Actually, in my previous session these diagrams were missing due to some technical problem. So this is the complete picture of stress strain curve. Well, let us continue. Now comes a term called fatigue. Elastic materials used in various applications are under repeated and continuous stresses. As a result, they lose elastic properties either temporarily or permanently. Sometimes even cracks also developed. This is known as fatigue. There are two types in fatigue, namely brittle fatigue and ductile fatigue. Actually, both of them are dangerous. Brittle fatigue and ductile fatigue both are unwanted things. But ductile fatigue is more dangerous than brittle fatigue, because in brittle fatigue the crack developed can be noticed immediately, and then we can decide whether to use that material or to reject. Whereas in ductile fatigue the developed crack goes unnoticed in the initial stage, but the crack continues to grow in size with time, and finally the things become very difficult and things may go beyond our control. That's why I say ductile fatigue is more dangerous than brittle fatigue. Next, longitudinal strain and lateral strain and Poisson's ratio. See, whenever an elastic body is stressed, there occurs elongation and compression simultaneously but mutually perpendicular direction. Let us consider one uniform wire of length L and diameter D fixed at one end, applied with longitudinal force F at the other end. As a result, its length increases and diameter decreases. Let me demonstrate it. Here is a material. So this is the initial shape of the material. Now I apply force like this and like this. So I stretch the material. When I stretch the material, its length increases, so there is elongation. At the same time, diameter wise there is a compression. So diameter decreases, length increases. So this is elongation, this is compression. In this context, we define longitudinal strain and lateral strain. First, longitudinal strain. The ratio of increase in the length to the original length is known as longitudinal strain. Longitudinal strain per unit stress is known as longitudinal strain coefficient. It goes like this: alpha equals small l by capital L divided by T. That is change in the length to the original length per unit stress, or increase in the length divided by original length into applied stress. Hence, increase in the length, if you want, that can be written as L is equal to alpha into TL. So you just cross multiply, you get L is equal to alpha into TL or L into T. That's all about longitudinal or elongation strain. Next, the ratio of decrease in the diameter to the original diameter is known as lateral strain. Lateral strain per unit stress is known as lateral strain coefficient. Lateral strain is also known as compression strain. So beta equals small d by capital D divided by T. That is change in the diameter to the original diameter per unit stress. The decrease in the diameter small d can be written as small d equals beta into TD. So this is about two coefficients, alpha and beta. Alpha is elongation strain coefficient, beta is compression strain coefficient. The ratio of lateral coefficient to longitudinal coefficient is known as Poisson's ratio. That means sigma equals beta divided by alpha. So Poisson's ratio is the ratio of two strain coefficients, that is lateral strain to longitudinal strain coefficients. Now comes the first derivation of this chapter, that is relation between elongation strain, compression strain and shear strain. See, when a body is subjected to stress of any kind, either longitudinal stress or tangential stress or normal stress, certainly there will be some deformation. So we can show that this deformation is equal to sum of elongation and compression strains. That means the deformation produced due to stress is the combined effect of elongation and compression strains. And the derivation goes like this. Consider a cubical slab ABCD. I just only take the cross section of the cube of side length L fixed at CD and subjected to a tangential force F. Here is the diagram. I already mentioned this diagram in my previous session. ABCD is a cross section of a cube and it is fixed rigidly at CD, and tangential force is applied to upper surface, that is AB. As a result, A moves to A dash, B moves to B dash, so that there will be a net elongation of X, or there will be angle of shear theta. So we have ABCD converted into A dash, B dash, C, D form. Well, let us do small constructions here. Draw BP perpendicular to DB dash. See here, initially diagonal was DB, now it is elongated to DB dash. Similarly, initially diagonal was AZ, it is now contracted to A dash C. So along this diagonal there is elongation, along this diagonal there is compression. Therefore, elongation and compression are mutually perpendicular to each other. And draw perpendicular BP to DB dash so that DB and DP are equal. Similarly, draw A dash Q perpendicular to AC so that CQ and CA dash are equal. Let us proceed. In triangle ADB, you apply Pythagoras theorem. So DB comes out to be square root of L square plus L square, that is equal to L into root 2. Just now I said DB is equal to DP. Therefore, DB equals DP equals L into root 2. Now coming back to triangle BPB dash. Please notice BPB dash. It is a right angle triangle. And for small deformations, we can take this particular angle, that is B dash, angle B dash, as 45 degree only. Then in this triangle, you write cos. Cos of BB dash P is equal to PB dash divided by BB dash, that is adjacent by hypotenuse. As I said just now, for small deformations, that angle B dash can be taken as 45 degree. Hence, cos 45 equals PB dash divided by BB dash. Our cos 45 is 1 by root 2, that is equal to PB dash divided by BB dash. Rewrite PB dash equals BB dash by root 2. And in diagram, I have taken BB dash as X, therefore it is X divided by root 2. So we have PB dash, we have DP. DP is the original length, PB dash is the increase in the length. See, DP is the original length, PB dash is the increase in length. Now define elongation strain. It is increase in the length divided by original length, that is PB dash divided by DP. So substitute equation 1 and 2 in 3. We get elongation strain equals X by root 2, that is PB dash, divided by L root 2, that is DP. So after simplifying the term, it becomes X by 2L. So we have elongation strain as x by 2l. I call it as equation number 4. Coming back to triangle BCP dash, which we already discussed in our previous session. Theta is equal to x divided by L, that is angle of shear or shear strain is just x divided by L, that is theta equals x divided by L. So take this equation 5 in 4 and therefore equation 4 becomes elongation strain equals x by L, that is theta, divided by 2. So in total elongation strain is theta divided by 2. See here, I calculated elongation strain by considering dP dB dash. Similarly, you consider AC, A dash C and this perpendicular. There you will get what is known as compression strain, and that also comes out to be theta by 2. So you can directly write it as theta by 2. Now add these two, that is elongation and compression. Then it is theta by 2 plus theta by 2, that is equal to theta. So this theta by 2 is elongation strain, this is compression strain, this is shear strain. Therefore we can say elongation strain plus compression strain is equal to shear strain. So whatever the net deformation takes place, it must be combined effect of elongation and compression. So from this derivation we can make one conclusion: the net variation, that is PB dash, or it can be even AQ also, is combined effect of elongation coefficient, that is alpha, and compression coefficient, that is beta. So earlier I wrote it as alpha TL, beta TL in the previous slide. Now it is not L, dP it is, that means root 2L. Therefore it is alpha T root 2L plus beta T root 2L. Finally it is alpha plus beta into T into root 2 of L. So that is the conclusion what we can draw from this derivation. Now comes three different elastic moduli and relations between them. First, the definitions. There are three elastic moduli. Of course they all are just ratio of stress and strain. So ratio of stress to strain is known as elastic modulus. First one is Young's modulus. It is the ratio of longitudinal stress to linear strain. So it is given by Y equals T divided by E, where T for stress, E for strain. T, as you know, it is F divided by A, force divided by area. E is small l divided by capital L, that is change in the length to the original length. Or finally it becomes F into capital L divided by A into small l. So Young's modulus is longitudinal stress to linear strain. Also we can show that Y, that is Young's modulus, is equal to 1 divided by alpha. You know what is alpha? Longitudinal strain coefficient. I just give you a small assignment. Just try to convince yourself that how Y is 1 by alpha. Next, rigidity modulus. It is a ratio of shear stress to shear strain. So it is given by eta equals T divided by theta. See, in some textbooks they use even N also for rigidity modulus. Finally, bulk modulus. It is a ratio of volume stress to volume strain. So it is given by K equals P or T divided by delta V by V, where P is pressure or stress divided by change in the volume divided by original volume, that is equal to P into V divided by delta V. In one of our previous sessions we discussed three different types of stresses and corresponding strains, namely longitudinal stress, shear stress, volume stress, and now we have corresponding elastic moduli, namely Young's modulus, rigidity modulus and bulk modulus. Now comes the next derivation, that is relation between Young's modulus, rigidity modulus and Poisson's ratio. Consider a cubical slab ABCD of side length L fixed at CD and subjected to tangential stress T. It's the same diagram I am using once again. As a result, layer AB slides to A dash B dash such a way that diagonal AC is contracted, DB is elongated, as shown in figure. Next shear strain is theta. I hope you already know this diagram and not much explanation is required. Let alpha and beta be the longitudinal and lateral strain coefficients. Elongation along dB dash, that is along this length, that elongation PB dash is given by alpha plus beta into T root 2L. This I directly borrow from previous derivation, and even in the examination you can write this one straight away. Further, PB dash equals x divided by root 2. This also we proved in our previous derivation. So you can directly borrow this result also. Well, we have PB dash equals so much, PB dash equals x by root 2. So equate both of them. Then it becomes x by root 2 equals alpha plus beta into T into root 2L. Cross multiply, root 2 into root 2 becomes 2. 2 into alpha plus beta equals x by TL, that is equal to x by L by T. X by L is nothing but theta, angle of shear. So it is theta by T. Next, take alpha common factor. So it is 2 into alpha. This becomes 1 plus this becomes beta by alpha, that is equal to theta by T. Next, take reciprocal both the sides. So we have this result. Now make substitutions. 1 by alpha is y, beta by alpha is sigma, T by theta is eta. So we have y equals 1 by alpha, sigma equals beta by alpha, eta equals T by theta. So if you substitute these results here, then it becomes y divided by 2 into 1 plus sigma, that is y divided by 2 into 1 plus sigma equals eta. So this is the relation between Young's modulus, rigidity modulus and Poisson's ratio. Okay dear students, so far we discussed longitudinal strain coefficient, lateral strain coefficient, Poisson's ratio and some derivations, and also we discussed 3 different elastic moduli. We have to discuss many more things, something like relation between bulk modulus, Young's modulus, Poisson's ratio, and relation between 3 elastic moduli, limiting value of Poisson's ratio, beams, types of beams, bending moment, single cantilever, expression for Young's modulus, torsion of a cylinder, torsional pendulum, like this. That we will take up in subsequent sessions. I thank all of you for your patient hearing. If you have any doubts, feel free, contact me via email. Thanks once again.